Again, thank you, Kwan, and welcome and good afternoon to everyone here who's joining us for the International Career Week. We've had a very exciting last few days with certainly great employers, some former international students who are now working in the industry, but also getting to hear from our friends here at the NEU Career Development Department. Today, I'm honored and also super excited to have some great, panelists here for our session today. And it's always exciting to have, folks who were international students themselves when they came to the United States, and now, of course, doing so well in the industry. So on that note, I'm going to go ahead and get started with some introductions for our panelists before we get started with our today's session. So first we have here today Angela John, if I said that right. Angela is a native from Beijing, China. And of course, she graduated in 2004 with a business administration accounting degree. She went on to complete her Master of Accountancy at Abilene Christian University and is a certified public accountant. Angela began her career with KPMG, one of the big four accounting firms, and also worked at Trimas Corporation in Michigan. In 2011, her career path led her to PricewaterhouseCoopers, where she serves as a director in PwC's cyber risk and regulatory practice, advising clients on matters involving internal audit, digital transformation, and risks and compliance. So welcome, Angela, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Right. We also have our colleague and friend, Namit Khurana. Namit, of course, is a senior business operations manager at Amazon AWS. He has about 19 years of experience leading change, streamlining process, and launching new services across a variety of industries, including finance, retail, pharmaceutical, and manufacturing. Currently at AWS, Namit manages business operations for AWS Recruiting, where he provides strategic insights and operational support for his team of 140 recruiters. Namit is also the outreach lead for the Amazon Asian Global Board, providing tactical guidance to Asian chapters across 20 countries. Namit, of course, in his previous roles, has served as the Chief of Staff for Technology Division at Freddie Mac, and he has also worked in Kodak Solutions for Business, also a consulting practice focused on helping brands reduce time to market and optimize business processes. He was also a consultant at the Corporate Executive Board at Booz Allen and Hamilton. And of course, Namit has his undergraduate degree as an IT, his undergraduate degree in computer science from the University of Maryland, College Park. And of course, he went to his graduate school at the University of Virginia for his MBA there. So welcome, Namit, as well. And we're super excited to have you today also for our session. And of course, not the least, our moderator and our colleague, Kwan Siegel, who has been leading a couple of sessions here for the International Career Week, first here today for our students also. Kwan, of course, is an experienced human capital consultant and a career coach for international students. Originally from Thailand, Kwan moved to the United States and joined one of the world's top consulting firms in Chicago with 20 years of experience at global companies like BMW, Accenture, and Deloitte. She's helped companies develop talent development initiatives that impacted employees worldwide. Today, of course, she is the founder and CEO of IC Away. Love the name. Our mission is to empower international students for employability and serve international educators as a trusted advisor. Kwan, of course, holds an executive MBA through Sasson and Kellogg School of Management Global Partnership and a certification of senior professional in HR by HRCI. Welcome, Kwan, and thank you again for leading this panel session and bringing two such talented industry professionals to our students today. And I'll give the mic back to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brock, for this kind introduction, and always an honor to be back here at NAU and share our experience with the students. And your meaningful work with the things that you do at Center for Internet Education is amazing. I just feel truly honored to be part of this. And for today's session, everyone, we would like to share our experience and insights to help you get your first job in the US, because even with the CPT, OPT as work authorizations for international students, some employers out there usually feel that hiring international students is not that simple. it's supposed to be simple. Why is not that simple, right? So students like all of you face challenges in launching your careers in the US at the beginning. That being said, I have two amazing speakers that Rag just introduced today joined me. They are from big companies, and I just got the email from myvisajobs.com, the report of 2021 H1B, and their company, PwC, Amazon, are the top 10 companies in the US that sponsor H1B. So hopefully we're going to be able to share our own experience looking for jobs, helping others, recruiting, interviewing candidates as well. But before we get started, we would love to learn more about you as well. So let me share the screen, and we would love to hear more about your background, our attendees today. So let me share the poll link right here. Give me a minute and let me work on this. Okay, so first, I would love to learn about your background. Are you graduating soon? Are you graduating soon? Please use the link in the chat box and share with us. Are you graduating soon? Are you graduating this year, or you have more than 1 year to graduation? All right. Okay. Majority. All right. Now half and half. 70%, 75%. Okay. The numbers still keep moving. So curious to know if you are like taking action early on, or you're very close to graduation. That really makes a big difference as an international student looking for jobs. Oh, that's amazing. 50%. Okay, have more than a year. Let us give our attendees a few more seconds here. This is amazing. Okay, it's not so much different, but I am so happy to see that majority of you today have more than a year to graduation. Great jobs, you guys. Get great jobs for starting early. I have my next questions here. Is your degree STEM or non-STEM? Because it also makes a difference when looking for jobs as an international student. All right. Are you having the same degree that Namit has, computer science, or Angela, like accounting, or me, MBA? Okay. All right. Majority of our attendees today seems like you are a STEM students. That's great. STEM is a very, high demand, right? Skills in the US, and with Biden's latest announcement for STEM, you have a better visa pathways in the US as well. All right. Thank you for sharing this with us. Well, let us start with our first questions here. Okay, first question is something that I normally hear from international students, but like I want to hear from our attendees, our speaker today as well. Let's start with Angela. Angela, can you please share with me a little bit? What do you think is the key barrier for international students to look for jobs and get a job offer in the US?
Okay, you guys are not gonna like what I'm gonna say. I think a lot of time as international students, because of the struggle that we have with the sponsorship, H-1B and all of those, we automatically put ourselves into a position that we're leaning back rather than leaning in. And what I mean by that is I've seen students coming in, either trying to be someone or something that they are not, very much trying to fit into the American or Western culture, and but losing the key element of their strength and their differentiator, which is your background, your heritage, your culture influence. I mean, frankly speaking, we didn't just travel all of the hours on a plane to come to United States, study as well as working in this environment for nothing, right? And you're a lot stronger and a lot, differentiated than what you think. Use it is going to be really important. And I think the other element that I see is, we kept on letting this sponsorship being something that sits in between of us and a recruiter or an interviewer. But just remember one thing, the most important thing at the end of the day is your ability to contribute and to bring value over to this organization. And you have more than you think you can provide.
Okay, I need to unmute myself first before I speak. So empowering as always, Angela. I always said this to my students. You are one of the mentors that we truly admire. You have built your career here in the US from scratch as well, and now you are the top leader in the top company in the US. So everyone, listen to Angela's advice today. Differentiate yourself, right? And don't forget your heritage. You can definitely leverage your heritage for job searching as well. Okay, Namit, I would love to hear from you as well.
I'd echo the sentiment that Angela brought up, that we are unique, right? We're coming from another country. We've got our own experiences that we bring into the table. But I think to me, there's this extra level of friction that we've had to go through. I know for me, I still think, I've been here for 20 years, 25 years. I still think in Hindi and I speak in English. And just because I've brought up in India, right? That's how I think. My kids don't speak Hindi, but I do. But I still process it in Hindi. So we're adding this extra filter of our brain telling our mouth what to do and then converting it so that the audience understands it. So we're going through this extra processing. And given that extra processing, we're actually a bit more resilient. We're actually a bit better than the folks that are here. And this is a circle of trust, so I can say it. I almost feel that the international students are a notch above the regular students that are here. And I say this for two reasons. One, you've left your country, you've left your home, where you were grown, brought up, and who you were, into a foreign land, and you're establishing yourself from the ground up. So you're obviously more resilient. You've done a lot more. So there's that one element working for you. And I would say leverage that extra grit, if you may, to get you to the opportunity. The other thing is, just by function of us being different, we tend to take a step back instead of leaning in, as Angela called out. What that does is when there's a networking event or there's an activity or there's a conversation happening, we will tend to be behind the scenes and not be front and center with our American peers. And I think that's the other thing that takes us back on our own. Like we're holding that crutch ourselves. So being able to get past some of those barriers that we have built for ourselves will help us move to the next level. And once you're shoulder to shoulder, forget ethnicity, forget region, you're then able to deliver at a higher level of caliber, at least for all the STEM stuff that we've talked about. And that's where they'd see the difference of, oh, it doesn't matter where you come from, it's this candidate has better skill set compared to somebody else. And those be the two things is one is focus a bit more around the fact that you've done the extra lift, give yourself credit. And the second is speak up a bit more so that you're front and center.
I love how both of you brought the cultural parts into this discussion. And you're so right, Namit, resilient skills. Not everyone move across the country to be in this new country and build everything on scratch. You all definitely have that resilient skills. And if you are like all of us here, we don't speak English as our mother tongue, right? This is the resilient skill, how we build the new skills from scratch. And actually, we are pretty smart. We are bilingual, multilingual, thinking so many languages in our head. That makes us so smart and so intelligent, be able to function so many things at once. And on top of the cultural part, I also want to share a little bit as a career coach for international students, because I have seen so many questions from the students that normally reach out to me. And the first question that you come to me is about, how can I find an employer who sponsor? So that is the mindset that I would like you to adjust a little bit, because now you are thinking as a visa sponsor hunter instead of becoming a problem solver. Just think that way, okay? Like, why employer want to hire you in the first place? There is a problem and they need someone to fill in that gap. Now I want to talk a little bit about skills gap. Majority of employers, large companies, 80%, that's from the latest data, more than 80%, I think it's about 87% of large companies out there said that they have a skills gap. And right now they have it. In the future, it's going to be even worse. So if you know about those skills gap and start building the right skills and do lots of research to know about those competencies that employers really need and be that talent for them. So instead of seeing yourself as I need work sponsorship, see yourself as a global talent. Build that skills. We can see that majority of our attendees today are from STEM degree. You have that skills, okay? Now all you have to do is just to do more research to know what employers really need, and then narrate your stories, build your compelling stories to fulfill those needs. So that's my recommendation. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Namit. And we also have other great questions here. Now, I touched a little bit about sponsorship. And we all know that like applying for jobs online, through Handshake and so many channels out there, students normally stumble through two immigration screening questions. And the second question is about, do you now or in the future need work sponsorship? And normally students normally ask me, will the company reject me right away if I click yes? So Namit, can you share a little bit of your insights on this?
Yeah, in fact, I reached out to some of the recruiters just this morning trying to answer that. What is our point of view around internationals in general? Amazon doesn't have a bar, right? They want talent. They don't care where it comes from. And I think each employer has their own point of view. But from an Amazon perspective, if you've got the skill set, if you're able to deliver and you're got some great background, we'd love to talk to you. At the end of the day, I don't think that question, while it does rub you the wrong way, saying, wait, did I limit myself to half the demographic of companies that are in the US? It shouldn't change anything, right? If that company does value diversity and if the company does value people with a unique perspective, then you would be welcome. I personally wouldn't want to be in a company that is only looking at one track perspective of talent. I would feel like an outsider. My opinions won't be valued. You'd see senior level leaders would be all very different than me. So I may not want to go there myself, right? So in a way, this is a good question to actually truthfully respond and say, would I need this question answered? Do I need sponsorship? Yes, I do. And if they don't want me there, then it's their loss. That's how I've internalized it. I don't think that one should lean too much on it. I know when I was going through business school and I was still an international student, there were several CPG, consumer-based consumer product goods companies that would say, we only look for US-based citizens. And I was like, oh, I really want to work at Apple or Colgate or those types of organizations where they're doing brand management. And that was something I'd be curious in. But given that they were limited, I was like, that's fine. I'll just look elsewhere. And it doesn't really matter where you end up going. Eventually, where you plan isn't really where you end up. I wasn't planning on being at Amazon, and here I am. So the long story short, I think it really comes down to, if you do good work, the rewards will follow. Don't worry too much about if the company sponsors or doesn't, but answer truthfully to that question.
I love your advice, and thank you for helping us doing a little bit research directly with your recruiters. Yeah, that's a great advice, Namit. And Angela, you have any thoughts on this question?
So I'm going to share a story. I was at the Ascend National Convention one year. Actually, I think that might have been the same year I met Quan. And I signed up to do the career fair representing PwC. And it was the whole morning, probably actually 4 or 5 hours altogether. And I was getting really tired, as you can imagine, just talking the entire day, right? And that year, it was around the time that economy was dipping a little bit. So one of the things that we did say is, hey, when you're going through the interview, given this is a Pan-Asian, national convention, so let's ask a couple questions. Do you need sponsorship? And if you do, are you a STEM major or not? And just even the recruiter told all of us interviewers that, hey, just letting you guys know, we really don't have we don't have openings for sponsorship for the non-STEM folks out there. Just watch out over there. Don't waste their time whatsoever, right? So I was interviewed this girl, from the university. She was a junior looking for an internship opportunity, and then I asked her the question flat out. Do you need sponsorship? And she paused a bit, and she said, "Angela, can I tell you a bit about my background?" I said, "Of course. Tell me about you." So we started having the conversation. She started talking about what she studied and why she thinks that her skill set is going to fit into the position she's looking for in PwC very well. We had some conversation out there. She asked me some really good questions about what we do on a daily basis, the company culture, work-life balances. She fit the bill of everything as a very outstanding candidate, right? And at the end of the day, I actually didn't ask or push on those two questions that I was supposed to ask. And what I did is I wrote on her resume in big letter. I said, "Great candidate, probably need sponsorship. However, encouraged that we reached out over to her. We don't want to miss this person." And that was my recommendation.
Amazing story, Angela. She jumped over that immigration question hurdle because she doesn't care about it.
Yeah.
She just focused on what I can do for you. And from that face-to-face, opportunity to meet with the hiring manager is your golden opportunity. And she did it. That's so amazing. Thank you for sharing this story.
Yeah, I mean, the companies, like what Name was saying, they're looking for talent. They're looking for folks who can fit into their culture and providing that value, driving the strategy, driving the objective, right? Moving things forward. And at the end of the day, you guys probably heard the biggest topic area for all of the corporate America nowadays, ESG, diversity and inclusion. Those are the top areas, right? And if we continue to always hiring the same people in the same group from the same tribe, how are we going to be able to really drive the diversity or the inclusiveness in the workplace?
That's amazing. Yes, and Namit, I know that you also the global leader for the Asian Affinity Group, right, at Amazon. Can you share a little bit of that vision and mission that the company want to achieve in terms of D&I?
Yeah, so I think to Angela's point, I think diversity tends to become a big priority whenever people fall on goals, right? So over the past few years, we've hired very similar people, and now leadership all across, not just across Amazon, but all big companies is realizing that, we may have over-indexed on one demographic, and now they're shifting the other way. So I think this is a great time for you all to be in the market, because they are looking for people that look like us, that look different, that feel different, that interact differently. So one of the tenants is a way to kind of define the true north, and Amazon's big on tenants and coming up with these guidelines of what does success look like, what does true north look like. So one of the tenants that we have in our journey is, let me pull it up real quick, build Asian chapters, which provide and support diverse ethnicity and backgrounds. So what that means is we want to build intentionally a diverse population. And if that is a true north for organizations like Amazon, I think others will come up to that same place of realization. And being different is actually a benefit. Being international would actually become an asset more so than a liability. And we're seeing some of that shift happening as we speak.
And innovation, is one of the top priority for all global companies, and D&I can fulfill that part. That's so great. And my recommendation to this question come back to our original question. Do you now or in the future need work sponsorship, right? It also depends on your target job, the company that you're applying for. Like Nami said, many positions at Amazon, but not all positions will just accept you by you clicking that yes box. But again, follow Angela's recommendation, the story that she just shared with you all, because if you get to meet with your hiring manager, target professionals, people that you want to be like in the future, even before applying for jobs, there is more chances for you to get into the job interview without going through that checkbox. You want people to know about your capabilities, care more about your capabilities more than your visa status. Yes, that's amazing advice. Thank you so much for this. And you all please prepare the questions. Okay, I'm gonna ask these last questions and then I will open the stage for you all. You can turn up the microphone later on, or you can leave your questions in the chat box as well. So my last question is about networking. Since we talk about bypass, traditional job application process and network with people, how can an international network when they have like limited connections and they don't have a chance to get outside of their campus at all? So Angela, would you please share a little bit of your experience with us?
I think maybe two things. One is utilize your international office or career placement office, what Ron is doing over here, right? And then also utilize the network of your alumni. It's all about the people around you who has relationship. And sometimes those relationship comes directly from your professor that you're working with. I remember after I graduated from Abilene Christian, every year I will go back to Abilene and do recruiting for KPMG at the time. And I would actually and our whole team would take the professors out and we would very straightforwardly ask them, hey, what are the deeds and who do you think you should recommend and who we should be meeting with? And we also get their sense on the candidates even after we have the chance to interview and talk with them. And there's a lot of the information that we're gathering from that standpoint. But on the flip side, the professors would know, here are the people, I can connect them with my students. And they often do that. So finding the ways around you to find the network and the connections. And that actually goes a lot faster than you trying to go on LinkedIn and searching and cyber, stalking to find the person that you maybe wanted to connect with, right?
Love it. It's more meaningful, and just use your first circle of network to expand the network, right? So start from on campus. Yeah, that's really great
always
advice.
know somebody and always know somebody else.
Yes, write that down, everyone. Somebody always knows somebody that knows somebody. That's so true. Namit, do you have any thoughts on this?
I think I'd echo the fact that your alumni network is a great way to start. You've already got people that are in role that have already established themselves from your universities. So you're definitely willing to tap into that community. I think the other aspect that we didn't talk as much about was your immediate family, right? There's a network that you've got already. There's folks back in home. There might be folks in the US. And those folks probably have a good network as well because they're established and so forth. In India, we call everybody who's not related to you uncles and aunties, even though they're not really your uncles and aunties. But any older male is an uncle, any older lady is an auntie. So you reach out to any uncles and aunties that you know in your network and say, I'm looking for X, Y, and Z. Could you help me out? One of the things that somebody had taught me earlier was come up with a roadmap of what you want. So come up with maybe top 5 or 10 companies that you want to work for. So for me, when I was getting into consulting, I had Deloitte, Booz, McKinsey, KPMG, all the usual stuff. And then I had, what regions do I want to work in? I want to work in New York, I want to work in DC, maybe Atlanta, etc. Right? So almost that level of dimension. Then the next thing would be, what type of roles are you looking for? I'm looking for strategy consulting, I'm looking for tech consulting, etc. And then finally, maybe an elevator pitch. I would like to get a job into this so I can leverage my analytical skills and provide value to the company. So that's your one sheet roadmap. And then what you do with that is you pass that roadmap out to anybody you know. It's basically your marketing card without getting into the resume, because you're still students, you probably don't have work experience. You just got that wish list of here's what I'd like to work, here's what I can bring to the table, and here's what I'm interested in. And then let them circulate that around. What it does is two things, right? One, it gets the word out. It's almost this pyramid effect. If other people are able to forward that out to other people they know, right? You're able to get the word out. And the second thing is it helps you formalize a little bit more about what you are looking for. I know for me, it was a bit unclear because I was like, do I want to get into strategy consulting, or do I want to get into corporate strategy, or do I just want to get into P&L analysis, right? So by doing that exercise, it helped me figure out what my true north was, and it allowed me to kind of figure out, okay, I need to go this way, and this is the type of people I like to interact with. And then finally, I would say, attend events like Ascend and all these sort of extracurricular things that are outside your social network, where you can meet other people. Take that sheet with you and pass it around. If anything, they'll just see you as somebody who's different, who's doing things a bit differently. And I think the goal is to stand out and allowing you to get your word out.
Amazing advice. Right. Build that roadmap. Build your prospect. Know your goals. Networking can be time consuming, but it will be super rewarding. Right? Instead of spending like 100% of your time outside schoolwork for online application, use that time to make a commitment that you will connect with at least 3 people a week. Simple as that. And have that prospect list. But the worst, not the worst, the challenging part that many students normally experience is to nurture that relationship and turn that into a meaningful connections. And I want to emphasize on this as well. It's like you planting a seed of relationship, right? You need to keep watering it and put in fertilizer, nurture that relationship, and try your best to think about what is one thing that you can also contribute back to that person's life. There are so many ways to do that, because as an international student, it's not a numbers game. It's about the quality of that relationship, because you want someone who really believes in your capabilities and trust in you, so that they will advocate you, right? And introduce you directly to the hiring manager, and you can jump over that immigration question hurdle. So that will be my recommendation. And we start to get some questions here from the students. So let me walk through that question. It's asked privately here, so I'm not going to announce your name, okay? We have a student from a degree in communication. So this is a non-STEM student, right? So he said that it's not going to be easy to find jobs. How can he target a company and shortlist the company for his that will want to hire someone with a degree in communication? I can kickstart, and if any of you have any thoughts on this, please share with me as well. So for non-STEM students, it's not the end of the world. I'm telling you, this month and in December, a few of my non-STEM students got a degree in professional writing, got a job at big companies and a consulting company in San Francisco. You need to have a brand. It's not just about a degree in communication. Now you need to have a portfolio. You need to really, be outstanding. Not having a STEM degree doesn't mean that you don't have technical skills. You still have the technical skills that employers out there need, but unfortunately, non-STEM doesn't give you the benefit of trying that H-1B for 3 times. That's a challenge that you will need to work on and try to create your visa pathway if you don't win the first round of H-1B. But to get a job, it is possible, but you need to have a brand. Think about you yourself first, okay? What about that communication skills that you have that make you stand out? Is it UX research, What kind of content creation did you use, any software and skills? So start from you. Building a brand in communication. That would be my recommendation. Angela, Namit, would you like to add anything to this? For non-STEM students.
When I read that question, I think part of it, you asked the question of how should I start approaching the companies, right? And how should I shortlist the companies before? So do your research. And, I've done a podcast with Juan before, and I think one of the recommendations that we both had was preparation, right? And when you're a communications major, you actually hold a lot of power, because there's so many things you can use your degree to do. And so many companies actually have those kind of positions. You could be doing training. You could be actually doing some kind of writing. There's a lot of different element of things. So figure out the different jobs that are available that accepts the communications degrees, and then what are the ones that you're interested in? It's a two-way street. You want to do something that you're truly passionate about, right? And then research the heck out of that company and make sure it's the right company, it's the right culture, it's something that you want to get into, understand the position. And later on, when you started getting in front of the interviewers, research them and make sure that you have something in common and something to talk through. And also, prepare to actually hit it really strong with your brand, like what Kwan was talking about.
Love this. And Namit, I can see that you generously share your resume in this chat box.
It was that marketing plan that I was talking about, which kind of talks about just a couple of things. And I sent that out to several people, like anybody who I'd know, just say, this is what I'm looking for. If you can help me connect the dots, or anybody in these organizations, that would be great. It was just another way to get the word out. But coming back to and so folks are welcome to use it, ignore it, whatever works for you. Something someone had shared with me, which I thought was quite effective for me, at least. I think the other thing I'd want to throw out is pro bono is another area where you can build that expertise. Coming in as students, the experience is somewhat limited. So you're welcome to pick up something that is a nonprofit. There's always opportunities in these types of organizations. You have soup kitchens, or maybe even your school, for what it's worth, right? Work with the professor and say, hey, I've got some extra time. Do you want me to help build a website or whatever? Just to kind of get your experience together and help add value. That gets you to be somebody who is actually helping them as opposed to requesting them of information. So if you go to your professor and say, hey, I'm looking for this space in communication, would you like me to create a newsletter for your course? Just throwing it out there. Would you be interested? And I could put something together, shared with you on a monthly basis, weekly basis, and we can roll it out to our students. He'd say, yeah, sure, why not? Right? And you get some good experience. You build a personal brand with that professor. So you're one of the 60 students who's doing a little bit above necessary. And if other professors reach out to them and say, wow, that's a great newsletter, who's doing it for you? All of a sudden, you're a SME, right? That's just a simple example of taking it a step further than just being a victim and saying, how can I help out? How can I make my brand aware? How can I make my brand front and center, and then drive action?
That's great. Build your brand. And this marketing plan, everyone check into the chat box. Namit has shared such a great resource. And I also shared the link to Angela's and actually Namit's podcast as well. When you click that link, you will see both of their interview podcasts with me. Angela shared about how she got her first job building that portfolio. And Namit also shared his resilience skills, going through all that 9/11 time until going through the corporate world. So thank you so much for sharing all these resources with the students. And we also have a question from Priscilla as well. Priscilla, if I'm not answering these questions, directly, please feel free to turn up your microphone and ask live as well. I believe you are asking about networking, right? Networking online, like today you take classes online with the pandemic. How can you start networking with people when you are not presently in that city with that person? And majority of us know that we normally network for jobs, and that make you feel awkward. I'm trying to interpret your questions here. So I can start answering this question. Okay, like for me, take me as an example. I am in Chicago, even though it's a big city. Actually, lots of my network are from the East Coast, the West Coast. And look, Angela, she's from Cleveland, Namit from Maryland. And we are from all over the place, right? But the digital world these days keep us connected. You can use the approach that they shared, Angela shared before, participate in those professional organizations like Ascend. There are lots of virtual events, and you can also use LinkedIn alumni network to connect with people and use Namit's strategy about the approach, building that roadmap. And instead of trying to get to know people for a job, think about 3-step strategy there. Okay, first, know who you want to connect, find them and connect, maintain a connection. And after that, later on, once the rapport is created, then you turn your connection into referral. And you need to have the ask of asking, not like, hey, John, I found this job online. Can you refer me? That's not the art of asking. Be more, more strategic about that. Yes. And if I'm not answering your questions, please feel free to turn up your microphone and ask questions live as well. Namit or Angela, you have any additional thoughts on this question?
I'll just throw in that with virtual, if anything, I think that's a benefit. In the past, I used to be an introvert. I think I'm not anymore. But in the past, whenever we'd have these happy hours, I would be the one who wouldn't want to go there, and I wouldn't want to interact because that's just not my nature. In fact, if COVID was when I was graduating, I would have preferred it because I feel like I'm a much more eloquent writer than a verbal communicator. So I can probably write a nicer email than I would do a face-to-face interaction. I'm a bit awkward, socially weird, all that kind of stuff. So I think in a way, the pandemic might be a blessing where you're able to get the best message out there without the ums and ahs and all the extra stuff that takes us away without the accent. And you're able to make a connection with a person one-to-one. And one way to do this would just be to say, I'm here to help. You don't need to find me a job, but I'm looking for some ideas or activities that I can do for you to help you do your job. And it could be small one-offs. It could be one-off activities, like I can help make a website, I can help write a blog, or I can help XYZ. And that helps you connect with them and then take the conversation a step further. So those are ways in which you're able to just get the word out and make something a bit more meaningful.
And
I think the bigger question would be, how do you stand up and be different from other international students, because they'll all be doing the same thing. But that's another topic.
Yes, we can take the whole day for this topic, right?
Right.
Angela, you have anything that you'd like to add here?
Yeah, so Priscilla, when I read your question, I kind of sense a little bit of struggle and maybe even a bit of the frustration. So the first thing I want to say, actually share that with you very much. You guys probably have heard us talk about, hey, you got to put yourself out there. I think I mentioned a couple of times, lean in, not lean back. It's not that easy to do, right? And we have quite a bit of the difference from the culture standpoint that sometimes it's really putting us out there to do something that's really unnatural. So right now, I'll share with you that I am in a very similar position. I've been campaigning to actually get in front of the senior leaders within the firm to get to my next level within the company, right? And I'm from China, so Asian culture, a lot of you guys know, it's very hierarchical. So I do very well in the conversation with my peers, with my subordinates, but when you go to talk to people that are above you, and now I mentioned about this before, I thought it was funny that you said you called everybody older than you, uncle and aunties, right? And that's how it is in my culture as well. And it's really hard to kind of go over to somebody so much above you from that position standpoint, probably from age standpoint as well, and then abdicating and telling your story. And, at the end of the day, it does feel like you're asking for something, right? I think the two things that I've been trying to discipline myself to do is I recognize, of course, the importance of doing this. So I started on a weekly basis as part of my weekly planning. I would set a goal to say, okay, every week I need to talk to two people, get in front of two people to tell my story, to give my elevator speech, right? And then I disciplined in a way, who are the two people? I forced myself, no matter how uncomfortable, either reach out to their admin or, to directly put the meeting on the calendar, right? And then the other thing is, I'm disciplining myself to actually practice my story to make it relevant for this person I'm trying to meet, but also think about what is in there for this person. It's not just about me. It's also about the collaborative relationship. How can I make some contribution to this person's life or work that actually makes it a mutually beneficial relationship at the end of the day? I don't know if that helps or I'm reading your question right, but want to throw that out there.
That's so great, Angela. And I can see that a few students start to unmute yourself. So if you have any burning questions, please feel free to turn up your microphone and ask us right away. Do you have any other questions? If not, I have a few. Yes, please go ahead. I can hear someone.
Hi, my name is Ritika, and I had a question. Like, what courses on Udemy or LinkedIn do you recommend to do? Because I am a chemistry major, and so do I like search for specific courses to do, or what would you recommend?
Okay, I can kickstart. Namit, would you like to answer this question?
Yes, maybe I'd like a little bit more clarity. So there's a lot of different ways in which one could answer that question. Are you looking for courses that would help round up your skill set? Are you looking for additional details around the chemistry space? Like maybe a little bit more guidance on, because courses mean so many things. Could you elaborate a bit more around what type of courses are we talking about first?
So I am a health profession, emphasis in chemistry. So I mean, I know how to do like PowerPoint, Excel, and other technical stuff. But yeah, if anything specific in chemistry, any courses that are specifically that have to do with like my major, that would like really help.
I don't have a clear point of view on that per se, but if I were to pick anything generic, I mean, for chemistry courses, I think maybe your professor is the best bet given that is your skill set, that's your field. You're probably an expert compared to me, obviously. But I think if you were to pick a generic course, I think something like communicating eloquently or body language or things like that that are more softer skills would be useful. And that's something that somebody who's a subject matter expert in one area could complement from. I know we didn't talk much about presentations and stuff, but that's the other piece is how do you bring your whole self to the table? And sometimes what you say and how you say matter. And maybe that would be one area I would focus on is effective communication. Not to say that your communication may have a gap, but that tends to be a nice option to kind of round up your personality in general.
I love this.
No, Kwan, go ahead. I was going to just jump in there.
I love this, Namit. You hit the right point because I also, coach a few like PhD students that have great technical skills, like you don't need additional certification at all. But through the job application process, especially R&D field, you need to do a presentation. The last round interview, you need to present like in front of at least 3 people minimum, and that communication skills need to be super polished and professional, and you need to be able to engage people during that presentation. So yes, build your soft skills, essential skills on top of those technical skills. And Namit, I think we have one question for you here on the chat box from Akil. Do I pronounce your name correctly? What specific companies would you recommend for computer science majors? And also opportunities at Amazon? That's pretty broad question.
So Amazon's got a student program site where you can kind of go to and get access to some of that detail. I can post a link here. In terms of other companies, what I would do is, what was it called? I think it was called ladder.com. And there was a bunch of these other books that I had read way back, it was like 20 years ago, but they would list the top companies that are in a certain field that are hiring. Computer science being what it is, every organization nowadays needs technology. Uber, Lyft, Facebook, Amazon, Google, Netflix, Apple, right? Everybody's out and about looking for techie folks. So I don't think you want to limit yourself to any one company versus the other. Maybe the bigger question would be, if you have a location preference, where do you want to be? And then accordingly, you can narrow down what location, what companies are there in that area. If you look at my marketing plan, I was revolving around the New York, DC area. And I was only looking for those companies. I wasn't looking for the West Coast companies. So that could be one way of limiting some of the scope of work that you're looking at. But with computer science, basically the whole world's your oyster. You can work anywhere from Groupon to Zillow to Netflix, right? Anywhere. Whole Foods, name a company and they need technology.
Yes, I wish I got a degree in computer science. My life would be much easier. Right? Yeah, those are really hard, like very hard to find skills in the US, hard to fill roles. So you have the right skills, right knowledge. All you need to do, network more. That's it. And Angela,
Yeah.
I would like to, yes, please go ahead.
I was going to throw in, the internship is typically an easier way to get your foot in the door, and as compared to full-time, because full-time you're competing with the masses. Internship, you have a little bit more leeway because it's only the student population that you're competing against. So do your best for that internship role, and then hopefully pivot into a final role. That's how I got my jobs. I interned at Deloitte. No, yeah, I interned at Deloitte, joined full-time Deloitte. Before that, I interned at Deutsche Bank after undergrad, and I joined Deutsche Bank full-time. So both times internship allowed me to join full-time. And then once I was there, then I've already got credibility. Go ahead,
Perfect.
Angela. You were...
That's great. And it's like you also need to, try to also add your credentials by joining competition. There are so many competition that you can build your profile in coding as well. I know there are so many out there. You can just start Google competition for coding, right? And Angela, I think this question is for you. Does adding a personal story make it easier to get a job during the process of the interview or networking?
I think by asking this question, you already know the answer. The answer is absolutely yes. I was recently rewatching the Madman, right? And when you think about the, I don't know if you guys watch Madman, it's the marketing executive, in the Madison Avenue in the old days. But if you think about the old advertising or even today's commercial world, it's about telling story, right? And when you answered an interview question, I actually just had a interview today earlier, and the candidate struggled to tell the story, a personal story about things, despite of several times I'm trying to probe and asking, hey, can you share the personal experience that demonstrate this and this and this behavior, right? The personal story really tells a lot, and try to give when you tell that story, give the detail. And don't make it generic, give the detail, and even share not just what happened and how it happened, but also what is, at the end of the day, the impact. What did your actions or what you did, your behavior actually generated the result or contributed to the success of the story at the end of the day? And also, don't be afraid of sharing some of the emotion in there, right? How did I feel about it when that happened? All of those things are things that grabs on to people and create a picture in their head when they're actually going through the discussion with you. And I can guarantee you, when somebody just very generically answer a question by the step 1, step 2, step 3, and step 4 versus somebody using a personal experience, a story to really gauge in how these works, the later one definitely grabs on the brain power and later on puts a very much of a dent into the memory for whoever you're talking to.
That's amazing. And once you leave that interview room, what's in that memory, right? That
they're going to remember you.
Right. You need to be remembered. And it's not about SQL. It's not about Python. It's about you. Yes, definitely have that personal story. Well, we almost like on the top of the hour right now. Let's do one last questions here, and we will wrap up the session. Okay. We have a question about what exactly we need to do to get started at AWS. Okay, and I think this question is for you. What's the best approach to get an intern there?
Yeah, so I think I think the best way would be to kind of look at what opportunities they have online and then check out what's of interest. What I've had some people do in the past is they go through the AWS certifications, which are free, I believe, and then you're able to get your leg in the door by saying, I'm already certified at a tier 1, tier 2 type of thing. And then you're able to get a better chance of getting in there. There's also some internship opportunities on the table, like I mentioned earlier. Here's AWS Link is a slightly different one. I don't know if the process has started, but I'm sure they'll have a timeline on this link that I just shared, where they start looking for interns and so forth quite early. So I'm thinking it might have actually happened already for this coming year, but just check it out and see what's out there. But I don't have explicitly more than, knock on the door and see what works. If it doesn't work, we certainly knock harder or look elsewhere.
You're right. And that, lots of stepping stones. One of my students got a job at a startup in New York first as a product manager in fintech. And then Amazon recruiter reached out to her. Within that, she's got STEM OPT. So it's great to change job on STEM OPT, right? And just after that 6 months with that company, she got to increase her salary like double and into senior product manager position at Amazon. Anything can happen. Build the right skills, you guys, and don't be afraid of starting with a startup. Build the right skills. Okay, let us wrap up the session today. Before we finish the session, maybe Angela, do you have any call to action for the students today?
I just want everybody to know that you can do this. You're stronger and you are much more differentiated than sometimes you believe yourself to be. And you can do this. Go get them.
Love that. Namit, what is your call to action?
I think it's the diversity. The diversity is your asset, and don't think of it as a crutch. The fact that you're different actually makes you unique, and put that as your superpower. One thing that Amazon looks for is not so much the skill set, but the attitude. They talk about the leadership principles, and it's all about the attitude. So if you've got a very positive attitude, you're in. And not just Amazon, I think most companies do, because you can teach a skill, but the attitude you can't. So you have that positive attitude, and I think a lot of you already have that gumption coming into this place. Keep that momentum going, and I think you'll all land in a very good place. I'm looking forward to where everybody lands in another couple of years, and then maybe 5-10 years down the road, you're doing a panel like this and providing guidance to other new students. So it'll be a circle of trust. I know I attended one of these sessions way back. Somebody said the same thing, and I was like, what a bunch of BS. And I think hindsight, I think that made sense. Everybody lands. It's just depending on your passion, you land better versus the others.
Yes, don't forget about us when you guys get famous, okay? And I would love to keep in touch with you. Here's my LinkedIn profile and also my Instagram as well. So my key takeaway call to action will be like, don't be afraid of making mistake. Okay, I know that it's so intimidating to network, and the fear of rejection is real, but get out there, make that mistake, but learn from them. And then build resilient skill, like Namit just mentioned. And one thing that I also want to focus on is that remember that you don't have the luxury of time as an international student. Your timeline is very important. So start early. I'm so glad to see so many of you attend this session when you have more than a year to graduation. You are on the right path. Don't stop. Make a commitment that at least a week you connect with at least 3 people to build meaningful connections, not to ask for job referrals, okay? And learn from them. So good luck, everyone, and thank you so much, Angela and Namit, for joining me today and sharing your advice with us. Thank you. And Rak, thank you so much for this opportunity to share my experience and be here.
Absolutely. It was wonderful to have all 3 of you here, and again, a great panel session, and wonderful to have that sort of perspective coming from folks who were in those shoes as international students, and now of course sharing the good advice and the journey that they have taken and so on. So thank you so much, everyone, and I hope we can have you back maybe sometime here on campus in person too. And thank you certainly for all of our attendees, and our next session, of course, here for the International Career Week will start today at 2 p.m. And that would be for your resume and LinkedIn review labs. So thank you all, and really appreciate this.
Good luck, everyone. Have a great day.